one of our two Bug Delver players. Remember that Signorini and Hatfield, the only people with Delver in this top 8, only 2 Delver decks, and neither of them with any red sources.
And Daniel Signorini's got a slightly different build here. He's got 3 Tombstalkers, which is another thing we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, so yeah, he and Alex on the same list. They're creatures of choice. They have a slightly larger creature base than the Rug decks would tend to have. They have 3 Tombstalkers, 3 Deathrights, 4 Delvers, 4 Goyfs. And I think the biggest thing is also, and will be very relevant in this matchup, is instead of having burn spells like a Rug Delver deck would have, you think he would have Abrupt Decay. So he has 4 Abrupt Decays in that spot and 4 Hymn to Turoks.
Discard is going to be key against the Sneak and Show deck.
Yeah, so Zack Mullin going first. He's the overall 1 seed in our tournament. So not only is he playing a fairly fast combo deck, but he has been guaranteed to be on the play every single game 1 with his combo deck.
And that was his reward basically for having to play the last round.
Right.
And having to win to get into this top 8 at all.
Yeah, he and Brian Braun-Duin were the only 2 who had to play the last round to get in, and as a result, they captured the 2 top seeds of the top in this top 8. But I would say, especially when you're a deck like Zack, that seems particularly relevant. His deck's so much better on the play than it is on the draw.
Yeah, Zack's pondering here, and he's really, really taking his time thinking about it.
Well, it's a ponder, a Force of Will, and a land. I think he's betting, he might get him, he might get Thoughtseize. He kept the Force of Will.
Him is a possibility, but Thoughtseize is not.
Yeah, so in his opening hand, he has a second land. He also has a Show and Tell and an Emrakul in his opener. So both halves of the Show and Tell combo are already there. And remember, if that resolves, the Show and Tell resolves, there is, I do not believe, a card in Signorini's deck that can deal with a resolved Emrakul.
Certainly not in the main deck.
Right.
Out of the sideboard, is still a no. Well, Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Right, so a Ponder by Mullin finds a second Emrakul. That one certainly, unless he's particularly worried about Thoughtseize, which he shouldn't be, that he sees the 3rd land he needs.
And Diabolic Edict. Daniel's got 2 Diabolic Edicts and 2 Jace the Mind Sculptors, which are potential answers out of the sideboard.
And this looks great. Zack's going to be able to go for a turn 3 combo with Force of Will backup.
Well, Daniel's going to brainstorm here and look for some answers of his own.
Yeah, remember, so then the question is, Zack, like I said, Zack can be able to combo with Force of Will. What are the spells that Daniel has to fight back against this? Well,
Force of Will of his own, Daze. If he goes with a Hymn to Torak, he could force Zack to force it.
Right, so he'd maybe go for him, and then if Zack forces and Daniel dazes the force, Daniel could actually get almost all of Zack's hand here. So, but he needs that like double disruption between him, force and daze. He
needs to have two pieces.
Yep.
Daze, he can't him into daze because Zack has 1 land untapped.
Similarly, if he plays him here, Zack instead of and he is. So Zack is going to instead, I think, just brainstorm
and hide his pieces.
Yep. So
another Emrakul.
Yep, Simian Spirit Guide. So the Show and Tell is the card Zack needs to protect the most. That'll probably become the top card of the deck. If I'm Zack, I probably keep both Emrakuls and put the Show and Tell on top of my deck. So next turn I can draw the Show and Tell, and I would have to, I'd say like it's a fair bet that Daniel will not have hit both Emrakuls off the. And wait, sorry, but the problem is actually, hold on, I should back up. If he does hit an Emrakul, Zack's gonna be forced to shuffle his deck. So then, yeah, that actually, 0 to 4.
Okay.
I don't know. Oh, okay. Sorry, 1 and 3. So missing all the combo pieces.
Yeah, pondering something else there.
So, and actually with the blue spell, he has Show and Tell. Yeah, he doesn't have a Force of Will, so he's running blind here. But because of Simian Spirit Guide, he's daze proof. Yeah. He's just not Force of Will.
So if Daniel has Force of Will, he can stop this. But if his answer is daze, he would need 2 dazes because Zack's got the Simian Spirit Guide in his hand, which he can exile to make a red mana.
Yeah, and if I'm Zack Mullin, I think I run straight into this. I don't think the situation gets particularly better with another draw.
He's got his hand out like he's saying go, and he does say go. Wow.
That seems that's a little gun shy. I mean, unless
Doesn't go for it.
well, what do you, it looks like. Okay, so brainstorm from Signorini. He's gonna try to end step intuition into possibly a flusterstorm.
Okay, but
That actually doesn't make your combo any more resilient.
he doesn't have enough mana for that.
We can't get. Sorry, he only has 2 flusterstorms. So he can't get that. He can maybe get another. He can get another Force of Will. If he intuitions for another Force of Will, and then draws a blue card, he'll have a second way to defend his own combo. So this is all in response to Signorini's brainstorm. And Zack Mullin's very careful. I don't know. He clearly doesn't want to get his intuition countered. Remember, there are no 1-mana discard spells in Signorini stack, so he doesn't have to worry about getting Thoughtseize or Inquisitioned here. He does have to worry about getting himmed again.
So respond with intuition and go get some things. Intuition resolves.
So you could get 3 show and tells possibly, or you could try to get a counter spell. It depends if he's worried about counter magic, getting a second show and tell is great. If he's worried about discard, then getting a counter spell is getting a counter spell would be better than the second show and tell.
Looks like he's opting to triple show and tell.
Right, so now he'll have.
So he's getting a backup show and tell in case his first one is countered.
Right, so at pretty solid play. Yeah, Daniel can choose any of them.
That one. No, the other one.
The worry is that if Daniel goes 3rd land, 2nd him to Turok, then Zack will be in a little bit of a tough spot.
So now Daniel's brainstorm resolves. And he's going to want to look for black mana source, him to Turok, or possibly some counter spells.
So Daniel does have the Force of Will, by the way.
He's got 1 Force of Will.
Does have a Force of Will. I don't know if that was freshly drawn or whether that was always there. The thing I'm not sure about why not going for it last turn, and maybe I'm missing something here, is that if it's not, so say he goes for it and gets forced to build, Zack still can intuition for more show and tells at that point. That's nothing stops him from making this line a turn later.
Might as well go for it while Daniel is tapped out. Okay, so Daniel has a Wasteland, takes out the Volcanic Island, and plays a Deathrite Shaman.
Alright, so Lotus Petal for Zack Mullin. So now he has a bunch of one-time use mana.
And he's going to go for a show and tell right here.
That's going to elicit...
Meets a Force of Will.
Yep, Force of Will pitching Brainstorm for Signorini. The pitching of Brainstorm to me means that I don't know how many more blue spells Daniel has in his hand. That certainly is better than Force pitching Force in this matchup, but that's probably been maybe the next worst card. I don't know. I guess he wouldn't have pitched a Daze either. So.
Yeah, using the Wasteland and Zack not having a 3rd land as a replacement, Daze is becoming much more relevant here. Zack still does have the Simian Spirit Guide, so if he draws a land, he might just go for it into Daze.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Zack, with no other real options, will almost certainly go for that. Tarmogoyf joins the fight for Signorini.
So this is just putting a clock on the board.
2 cards in Signorini's hand. Zack gets a sneak attack, so a blank.
So do you go for the Simian Spirit Guide show and tell here?
I think so. He has 2 cards.
And risk getting dazed out?
You mean you would be getting dazed out? That's true. At the same time, he didn't daze the intuition.
Right.
Which I think he would have if he had it.
And he didn't daze the last show and tell.
He didn't daze the last show and tell, which is what I would have started with. I certainly would have led with a daze there as opposed to, leading with.
So based on the evidence, the read should be no daze.
Yeah, and I think he's going to go for it, not necessarily because he's sure it will work, but because all his other options are pretty weak. I mean, the other option is ship turn.
Yeah, wait to draw a land to play around a daze that you may be giving Daniel time to draw.
Yeah,
Force of Will. So there he goes.
Mana.
He's going for it.
And another show and tell.
Do you have the Daze or another force? Daniel picks up his hand.
Does not have it. I feel like we would have seen it by now. Yep. So
That
it's going to
is-
resolve, and
Polluted Delta
we have our
and an
giant
Emrakul.
spaghetti monster. So, conveniently, 6 permanents in play for Daniel Signorini.
To get annihilated.
Remember, Signorini with no answer to Emrakul in his deck, and I believe drawing dead at this point.
Annihilated. It's just such a devastating word in itself.
And the big flying annihilator here. So, Ponder by Signorini. Zack that's no more plays. Its plays are very evident.
Yeah. He's going to untap, draw, turn
Attack.
Emrakul sideways. And remember it's trigger. It's a trigger.
You have to say annihilator.
You have to announce it.
You know, even if he forgets to announce it, he probably wins.
The 15-15 probably wins.
Yeah, it's probably good enough without the annihilator.
Daniel resolving a ponder. Put some stuff back. He just put one of them straight into his hand. He has another polluted delta. So now he can get rid of all of his lands and one of his creatures. Zack draws another sneak attack and he turns it sideways. Taps his Emrakul, presumably to announce the Annihilator trigger.
Yep.
And there go the permanents.
Everything but the Tarmogoyf. And yep, this should be the game here.
And I'll take 15.
Daniel goes to 2.
Did get in a Deathrite activation there.
Game
but
1 to
that's
Zack Mullin. So 1 seed, I think, really making use again of the fact that he was put on the play there. All right, so Zack Mullin up 1-0 over Daniel Signorini, our 1 seed. I think commanding his way through the first game. We're gonna bring you back into the booth for a second while these players sideboard.
Okay, so that's exactly what Zack wanted to do. Emrakul, as you said.
Yep, Emrakul his opponent, and he was able to
And
resolve
remember
that.
his triggered ability. So Daniel Signorini, he's going to be able to sideboard into 2 Jason Mind Sculptors and 2 Diabolic Edicts. Those are really his only answers to the big threats.
Yeah. So before we discuss how these players sideboard, let's talk a little bit about trivia questions. Those of you remember, if you follow us during our the top 8, top 4, and finals of any Star City Open, you get a chance in the middle of the match to win varying amounts of Star City Premium. So as we're in our top 8, that means we will be giving away 3 months for a correct answer to our first trivia question.
3 months. So you had a trivia question.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and
That was kind of crazy. So
We
here's
came
the
up with
trivia
joke-
question we aren't going to use. Because
So we were trying to come up with, we had a bunch of storyline themed trivia questions. Then we came up with unanswerable storyline themed trivia questions.
to 'em.
So we were going to ask our question, you know, and I will probably announce, I will read on the air what I believe is the most creative answer to this question. So we said, was just how is Niv Mizzet so smart? He's
is
the
he so
Draco
smart?
genius. We don't actually know the storyline behind that. And we're hoping, so I asked that to Ricky, and Ricky decided he didn't know either. So
I know.
we'll take it. If you can give us the most creative answer to that, we'll read that one on air.
That's not the trivia
That's not the trivia
question.
question. But if you want to participate in that, please do.
I would like to know. The best I came up with was brain steroids. I don't know if those exist in the magical world.
See, my response, I think he's read a lot of books.
A lot of books.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, that's
Other
not
question.
the trivia question. So the trivia question, the real trivia question is, there is a breakout card this week.
Definitely.
There are 14 copies of this card in the top 8 decks.
Mm-hmm.
It's from Return to Ravnica. It's a creature.
Yep. And I would say I talked to a Rug Delver player who just missed his win in for top 8, and he was extremely frustrated by the card and was pretty clear about his opinion on it.
Has 3 activated abilities that interact with the graveyard.
I think we can leave that one there. All right. So
That's the only hints you get.
What card from Return to Ravnica has 14 copies? What creature from Return to Ravnica has 14 copies in our top 8?
That's the question.
Please tweet that answer with hashtag SCG Premium. If you tweet that one, and you just have to put a hashtag SCG Premium
to win 3 months of premium.
To win 3 months of premium. You can, and we will at the end of the match we will inform you of the winner of that contest.
Okay, so then let's head back to the match now and talk about the sideboard plans. Daniel Norino.
Yeah.
He's going to bring in his Edicts. He's going to bring his Jaces because against it's not as good against the sneak attack, but if it's a show and tell plan, he can put the Jace down and at least bounce whatever giant monster Zack puts into play with show and tell.
All right, so yeah, so now Daniel has some way to interact with an Emrakul. Obviously, it's still a pretty difficult card for him to deal with. Yeah, Jace off a show and tell will get it. Diabolic Edict can get it, whether sneak attacked or show and tells.
He's probably taking out these Abrupt Decays. The only thing that can hit are Lotus Petals.
Yeah, they can't hit anything. He has Spell Pierces and Vendilion Clicks, which we'll almost certainly see.
Vendilion Click will be good.
All 8 of those coming in. Yeah, he has Abrupt Decay, Snuff Out.
Get the Snuff Out out. Zack, what's he gonna do?
So what Zack's gonna have to do is make himself just a little more resilient. The thing is, he has 4 defense grid in his deck, which is one way that he can attack the matchup. But the thing is, since Daniel's main way of fighting this is counterspells, his only discard spell is Hymn to Turok. So I would imagine to see 4 defense grids come in for Zack Mullin. Other than that, there aren't too many cards. Yeah, there aren't too many cards in the sideboard that are maybe Red Blast as well if he wants to have more offensive counterspells. But remember, since Daniel, a lot of his cards, only some of his cards are blue. Red Blast is a question of, may or may not be that.
Okay, so we're getting reports from the other top 8 matches. Right. Dan Walton playing Dredge is up a game against Alex Hatfield and Bug Delver.
Hatfield's on the same deck as Daniel Signorini. They are on the same side of the bracket as this matchup. So currently, Dan Walton up 1-0 with Dredge. We have Shaheen Sarani with his Esper Stoneblade deck is up 1 game on Paul Lynch playing Blue-White Miracles. And Jarvis Yu and his Team Asia style deck is defeating Brian Bronduin 1-0. And we'll get you over to that match if this one finishes first.
So all of the quarterfinal matches finishing their game 1s in quick order. We're going to go to game 2 here with Daniel and Zack. They've drawn their opening hands.
All right.
Daniel's on the play.
So we already have a couple excellent storyline questions about Niv Mizzet, so please continue to send them in. One of them I got here is that Niv Mizzet is very smart because after he kills other creatures, he absorbs their intellect, much like in Highlander. All right, so Daniel's on the play this time. Remember, he doesn't...
Okay.
This is awesome.
Sure, yeah. I just had to think about that for a little bit. When you started to say it, I was actually thinking of Sylar from Heroes, who steals all the other heroes' powers.
Right, so yeah, very similar. Daniel Signorini, turn 1 getting a Water Grave. He probably can't indefinitely just hold off Zack. So he wants, in this matchup, I think it's still important that Daniel has a pretty good clock early on, which he has here in Delver of Secrets. And we do see a pair of defense grids in Zack's hand. The second one, not necessarily. The second one probably is an insurance policy in case Signorini counters the first one.
So a blind flip of Delver of Secrets, revealing Brainstorm, transforms into Insectile Aberration. So there's his clock. 3 damage. Pow. And now he's going to Brainstorm, possibly kept a Landlight hand here.
All right, so Zack Mullin at 17. So Zack's hand appears to have Misdirection, a pair of defense grids, and a Sneak Attack, and Gristlebrand in it.
Gristlebrand.
So Zack's looking, because he has no mana accelerant and is a little land short, he actually is more like a turn 5 deck right now. Turn 4 Sneak Attack, turn 5 Activate it, go crazy.
Oh wow, so Daniel just brainstormed there and didn't find a second land.
So,
and Zack's going for the defense grid.
Daniel contemplating here if he wants to Force of Will. He almost has to. So he has 2 options here. The first one is that he can Force of Will. But the second one is that, like I said, Zack probably isn't winning until turn 5, 5 and 10. I know that Daniel probably can't predict that. But if Daniel can just simply be an aggro deck and, turn 4 or turn 5 Zack Mullin, that probably will be sufficient. So all it really will take is one more creature from Signorini to make that happen. He pitches a Delver of Secrets to the Forest of Will. Since we know he doesn't have any more lands coming, that would make me think he has more 1-drops on the way.
He better have something here. Stuck on one land.
And he will be stuck on one land for the next turn, next 2 turns as well. No other 1-drop.
So Daniel must be sitting on several other counter spells.
Yep, Zack Mullin with a pair of sneak attacks.
Zack going for...
and now he has Spell Pierce to back up this defense grid, so that one will certainly stick. Spell Pierce on defense grid, I imagine will be Spell Pierced back by Zack Mullin. The worry about Spell Piercing back here for Zack Mullin is that he will open himself up to Wasteland by making this play. I'm assuming he's going to actually get a Volcanic Island.
Right, he's got the sneak attacks in his hand, so he has to get a red source at some point.
Yeah, it's not the biggest worry because he knows Daniel doesn't have another land, but you know, a well-timed Wasteland might stop Zack from ever getting down a sneak attack. And Pierce back on Pierce. Defense grid will resolve. Which actually is going to be really hard. This card also not only blanks the counterspells, it also blanks the Diabolic Edicts of Daniel Signorini. Since most of Zack, well, depending. If he went on a sneak attack plan, which just looks like Mullin is on, the Diabolic Edicts are no longer really cards.
Yeah, so now defense grid is resolved, and there you can see it on the screen. It's going to cost 3 more mana to do anything on someone else's turn, which, the way these guys are playing, that's just not going to happen.
So in case you're wondering, the turn 1 keep from Daniel Signorini looks pretty solid. It had a pair of Delvers, a land, a Force of Will, and it appears like a Hymn to Turok, and that's actually after flipping Brainstorm. A really powerful hand that hasn't totally panned out how I'd like it to.
And here's the thing, Zack does not have a 4th
land number 4.
For the sneak attack.
Ponder, and I think this will almost certainly get Spell Pierced. Oh my, and he lets that resolve. Okay.
Oh, because of the defense grid. He can't,
oh right, he can't do it either.
He can't counter back.
Very good call. Yeah, defense grid a reciprocal effect. So yeah, the Spell Pierce actually drawn from Zack Mullin, ineffectual.
And now Daniel chaining Ponders is going to be able to sculpt his next few turns. He just needs this Delver to survive.
So I think I have my new favorite answer here. Mrs. Mizzet played Mozart's 40th Symphony a lot when Niv was a kid. For a reason of how Niv Mizzet became so smart.
Of course, there have been some studies that show that...
Indeed, playing classical music
can make your baby smarter. Playing classical music while the baby is still in the womb, right?
I think one or the other, yeah. The point is, yes, which suggests that. Which clearly, you know, Miss Mizzet was very aware of these studies. So a second Ponder from Signorini, and a draw off the Ponder.
Daniel shuffled off the second Ponder, and now here we go.
Down to 7. Mullin really, with 1 turn left to draw that land, he has a Ponder here. That won't, well, if the Ponder has 2 lands, then it will be fine. He can play a land this turn. Okay, Emrakul, fetch land, and another land. This will be great if he keeps both lands. He can play a land this turn, play a land next turn, play and activate sneak attack, which should be good enough. He will be at a low life total, but yeah, I think should be good enough to win the game. And
that's what he's going to build towards.
Yep. Still, he has nothing in his hand can really do too much from the the defense grid is keeping all his spells locked down. Now remember, Daniel has 1 defense net. Daniel has a Hymn to Turok, but the Hymn to Turok actually, because Zack can pay the additional 3, he can misdirection a Hymn to Turok back at Daniel. Ooh. It costs 3 more, but if he alternate costs it, which I think he's going to do right now, yeah, Hymn to Turok is gonna. He has to read it, make sure it's not target opponent. No, it's target player.
Target player. He's gonna misdirection.
Pitching
Pay 3 for his own defense grid.
Yep. And let's will him back at Daniel. Daniel immediately starts shuffling up his hand. And I think it looks like Zack Mullin's going to pull this one out. A very low 4 life. So card 4 and card 2.
That card and that
So
card.
he gets Diabolic Edict and looks like Tombstalker.
Right, and as you said, the Diabolic Edict was blanked by the defense grid anyway.
Yep, so sneak attack into play for Zack Mullin, and
I mean, that has to resolve. Daniel doesn't have 3 mana.
nope, land number 5. Cracked, and here we go. So a couple options. Zack can, I think, has both monsters in his hand. Will almost certainly, I think, just run Emrakul through the Emrakul. I was gonna say through the breach, because that's clearly playing too much modern. He will sneak attack the
Sneaky
Emrakul.
attack.
Sorry, he doesn't actually have the Emrakul. He just has the Gristlebrand. Emrakul was shuffled away.
Yeah,
There was buried
Emrakul-
one beneath that fetch land. So what he needs to find here is a Gristlebrand will gain him 7. He'll use it to draw 7, try to find one of his 4 Lotus Petals. There's one Simeon Spear Guide to sneak attack another creature.
Really?
Or he may just, you're saying he may just gain 10 here and let the
Gain,
Crystal,
yeah, gain 7, go to
gain
10.
7, gain 7, go to 10. It's an interesting decision here by Zack. That last card in Mullin's hand is another Gristlebrand, so he has 5 outs to find. Okay.
There's another sneak attack.
Oh no! Oh, it's another sneak attack. Sorry, there was a second Gristlebrand at one point, I thought, but you're right then. This is probably much better. So it's just,
Well, here's the, yeah.
yeah, I think he had to draw. If that last card's not a Gristlebrand, he has to draw 7. Because right now, otherwise he's very dead right now. He doesn't have anything else to sneak attack.
No, but if he draws 7, he needs to find a very particular set of cards.
And that's true. It's not a very good play to do. It's not a high probability play, but you know, if that's not the play, certainly untapping with nothing, a sneak attack and no monster seems
I mean, what
worse.
cards does he need to draw there?
He would need to draw another monster and one of the 5 free mana spells. So he has, 6 monsters and 5 free mana spells and 7 cards to hit both. That to me sounds like about like a 1 in 3, maybe a
But
little.
he's dead on the swing back from the Insectile Aberration.
Right. If he fails to find one of those, you mean? Then yeah.
No, even if he does, because he's already attacked with the Crystalbrand to gain the 7 life. So even if he
Oh,
finds another
oh,
monster...
I see. You're absolutely right. It doesn't give you a second attack phase, so apologies. Yeah, that line doesn't work at all. This is the only thing he can do.
Daniel plays a Vendilion Click, sees the sneak attack and says keep it, and now Zack has drawn another land.
And he'll pass the turn back. Carefully not cracking the land, 'cause that would, because he'll be going to 1 this turn. He's going to have to just draw Emrakul.
That's exactly right. That's his...
Or ponder/brainstorm into Emrakul, I suppose.
He's got a subset of outs
Right.
leading to the Emrakul play.
And Sylvan Library for Daniel Signorini and Deathray Shaman. So he's using those to strategically protect himself from a top-decked Emrakul. Well, no, he can't actually protect himself from the Emrakul. Alright, so Daniel Signorini holds off Zack Mullin going to game 3. Also going to game 3 is our other match, Jarvis and Brian Bronduin going to game 3. So we have no one through to the top 4 as of yet.
So that was interesting because there was a turn that Zack brainstormed. He saw the 2 lands that you said he needed and the
Right.
Emrakul, which as it turns out he also needed because
Right.
the Gristlebrand was not big enough to get the job done. Zack was not at a high enough life that he could draw cards off it, and the Gristlebrand didn't do enough damage.
So the difficult part there is that even if he waits 1 more turn to draw that Emrakul, then he can't fetch. Well, so what he's probably supposed to do is instead of going for it in 1 turn, he's supposed to play the sneak attack, and instead of running the Gristlebrand through that turn, like cracking the fetch land and running the Gristlebrand through, he's supposed to wait a turn possibly, draw that Emrakul, which he knew was on top of his deck, and then just go to 1 and try to just straight Emrakul from there.
Right, because one of the 2 lands was a fetch land, so he goes down to 3, which...
He went down to 3 so
Was
that he
lethal.
could do it on this, but he only went to 3 so that he could activate
Right, so
on
you're
the same turn
saying
as
don't
playing
crack
it.
the fetch
Don't
land,
crack the fetch
stay
land,
at 4,
go to 1,
from the
draw
Insectile Aberration.
Emrakul, use Emrakul. Cross
That-
fingers.
Yeah, that...
there's that last step where you
well,
really
he's
hope.
got the defense grid, so...
It should be fine.
Probably
Yeah.
not going to get disrupted.
The problem would be, Signorini, I believe, was below 15 life, so that would be... No, he would have been above 15 life. He was at 17, so if Daniel can actually just put 7 permanents on the board, that play doesn't work, but...
And I don't remember the timing of it, but Daniel
Yeah,
also
it's very
did
close.
have the Vendilion Click, so if he waits another turn, would the Emrakul have fallen victim to Vendilion Click? in response to the sneak attack. Or just in the draw step, I guess.
All right, so Zack Mullin back on the play game 3. I don't think neither of them really re-sideboarding too much.
That was a very intricate game, and it became complicated because of the defense grid.
Yeah, to me, what I saw out of that is that, you know, Zack kept a hand with a little mana light. He kept one with a lot of hate cards. But the problem is between running cards that don't proactively do anything, defense grid, and running sneak attack, which actually is kind of an expensive card.
Costs 4.
Costs 4. Zack actually just became slower than the aggro deck, and that sometimes can happen to, you know, in certain metagames, you know, combo decks need usually to be faster than the aggro decks. That's what gives them, you know, their edge in metagames.
Yeah. Well, part of that was that Daniel landed the turn one Delver,
yeah,
and flipped it on turn 2 naturally.
Yeah, the flying Nikatl out of any deck is pretty good.
Flying Nikatl.
So
here we go, going to game 3. Zack is back on the play.
All right, remember Zack, overall 1 seed. Daniel Signorini, 8 seed. Right here. Winner is playing the winner of Dan Walton and Alex Hatfield. Alex Hatfield on the same deck as Daniel Signorini. Dan Walton up a game on Dredge. So both Bug Delvers matching with both the combo decks on one side of the room. On one side, sorry, of the bracket.
Zack looks to the skies. He's not happy with his hand, and he's going to keep it.
I think sometimes with his, you know, you really want to plan out. You can almost plan out your whole game after you look at your opening hand with a sneak attack deck or show and tell deck.
Sneak and show.
And land four, so he has Ancient Tomb, Sneak Attack. So he has a bunch of lands, a Sneak Attack and a Gristlebrand, or sorry, and an Emrakul. But one of those lands is Ancient Tomb, so he has a turn 3. He has a turn 4 hand right now. Man, draws, okay, another monster. That will be helpful. If Daniel Signorini has a Hymn to Turok, that will make him much more resilient to Hymn to Turok.
Daniel plays the Deathrite Shaman on turn 1, but so far no fetch land, so it cannot generate any mana here.
Right. And
still no fetch land.
See if we get that hymn there. All right. So the one card that Zack does not want Signorini to hit is the Sneak Attack. Zack with 6 cards in hand. Only 1/3 to hit the Sneak Attack. Can't have 6 and 6, 6 and 5, so he hits. Oh. And he got it. Sneak Attack and a Misty Rainforest. Misty Rainforest, a card that didn't matter much. Sneak Attack, the worst possible thing for Signorini to hit.
Just hitting a land can matter here for the Deathrite Shaman, though.
Yeah, sure. It turns on the Deathrite Shaman, but you're looking at, like, you know, Zack's entire game plan revolved around that.
Oh, of course. It was devastating for Zack.
All right, so our first player is into the top 4. Shaheen Sarani, with his Esper deck, defeats Paul Lynch playing Miracles. And he will face the winner of Brian Bronduin and Jarvis Yu. So Shaheen, one of the more adept Esper players, you know, really that we see in competitive Magic. He runs Esper control in just about every format, and is very good at playing it.
Or a blue-white control if the black cards aren't there. And he's also, I think, a 4 or 5-time draft open champion.
Huge draw there. It's a show and tell from Zack Mullin. Now he's got to be careful. He wants to make his land drop first so he can be Spell Pierce proof.
Yeah, so he wants to play one of his 2 mana producing lands.
He's going to go City of Traders.
Shrugs. Do it. Go for it. You have to.
And show and tell. Does Daniel Signorini have a counter spell for it? He's going to V-click in response. He's not. Okay, he's not going to like this. There's 2 monsters there.
Ooh, yeah.
Now the question is, does he have a kill? Now, what he doesn't know is that Signorini has a Jace the Mind Sculptor in his hand to put in off. One more. So wait, you cannot. Hold on. Check something here.
Are you talking the protection of Emrakul?
I believe. 1 second. Yeah, Show and Tell, printed before Planeswalkers, lists the kinds of permanents you can put into play.
Right.
And Planeswalker, not on that list.
Okay, but he can still cast Jace.
Yep, and he's gonna get, and with the lands in the graveyard, that should be fine. That's why, and Signorini, a huge draw off that Vendilion click.
So Daniel
Or
chose
Mullin,
the
yep.
Gristlebrand.
He chose the Grissom because he figured he can deal with this Emrakul with the Jace in his hand.
But
Now,
then off of the V
off
click,
of the Vendilion click,
Zach drew
he's going to
the red
he
elemental
drew the red
blast.
elemental blast,
Wow.
which is huge. And Daniel breaking back with the force of will, had it in his hand. And so what I like about that play is Daniel let the show and tell resolve, even when he had force of will.
Yeah, because he had the answer to the big monster, so he puts it back in his hand.
And Zack Mullin out of gas now with an Emrakul and the land in his hand.
He could top deck a sneak attack here.
And yeah, sneak attack is what he's going to have to top deck, and he has about one turn to do it, maybe two. Because with Fate Sealing, I would say he has one turn to draw sneak attack, and it's right now. And it's a Lotus Petal. That's not going to do it.
Source. So that sequence of plays there,
Wow, and then that
very
pivotal
quick,
turn.
very interesting. Daniel cast the V-click in response to show and tell. Tucked away the Gristlebrand because he still had the Jace in his hand as an answer to Emrakul. But then Zach drew the red elemental blast off of the V-click.
But Daniel had the force of will in waiting for the play. Jace Fate Seals and keeps the card on top, which pretty much communicates that Zach doesn't have any outs. That card is not an out. He's free to draw it.
It's a fetch land. It's a Scalding Tarn.
Yep, and that pass on unstep, Deathray Shaman will shock, and untapped shock swing will be for lethal. So what a really tight game 3 between Zack Mullin and Daniel Signorini. Zack with the concession, and the very next card, a sneak attack.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
That's why you don't look.
You did never look.
Oh, because that's so heartbreaking.
To be fair, he would have had to draw it a second time. He would have had to get it after he cracked the fetch land. Because Daniel would Fate Seal, put the card on the bottom, put a card on the bottom, or their next one would have to be a sneak attack as well.
You need 2 sneaks in a row. Okay, well, number 1 seed taken out.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna head over to the game 3 between Brian Bronduin and Jarvis Yu.